everybody. I'm Steve Emond.
And I'm Chandra Free.
And together we form the entity known as Machina Corps. I guess that's just a thing we're doing now.
I guess so.
It's hard to start these videos, but that really just gets
Puts us in it.
Yeah. Machina Corps. So today we wanted to talk about current webcomics. So we talked about webcomics back in the day. Today there are not really as many options. There's several hubs and there's the whole of social media for posting comics. But generally, if you're doing a daily, weekly, twice weekly, whatever it is, comic, you're probably thinking of some kind of hub network to join. I think the kind of top one most people are familiar with today is Webtoons, which is it started as kind of it's Korean website, and they did manhwa, and a lot of their top comics to this day are Korean, translated to English, but they're very kind of manhwa centric. But anybody can join there. There are all different kinds of comics. The main thing with Webtoons is it's a vertical scrolling format, which is very different from anything we traditionally do here.
Because it's more or less like for the telephone. Telephone?
So people are dialing up these manhwas on their rotaries. Can you read me the latest Lore Olympus, please?
But so on your phone, your cell phone.
There you go.
There we go.
Yes.
You can just scroll up like this without having to do this number or swipe through or like go in and out.
Yes. Us olds still like our screens and our papers, but the youngs apparently love to do the scrolling. They're on their phone all day.
The youngs. And probably the olds too. We're not ageist around here, but
these lazy kids can't get off their phones, so we gotta bring our comics to them. But it's generally like a panel at a time. So if you had 6 panels on a webcomic or on a regular comic, they'd just be like this. And they do a lot of interesting things, actually, like the amount of spacing between them. Sometimes if you want somebody to see something real fast, they're close, but then you might want to pause and there's a long.
So it's kind of like staging, like time. Mm-hmm. It's adding time to what you're seeing. Like, oh gosh, something happened. Okay, now nothing's happening. Nothing. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's back. Oh, but there's some kind of emotional context to it.
That is the traditional webtoon reading experience. And there's a lot of like storyboarding elements. Like you might be scrolling and you see like the top of a tree, and then by the time you're done scrolling, it goes down through the branches into the ground. Like there's a lot of creative things you could do, but it's extremely different than traditional American or European or really any kind of traditional comics or even manga, which are, usually in a page format.
Right.
I tried doing Webtoons a few times. The first time was with Have Heart, which was my horror webcomic, but I just posted a full page. The problem with that being it's very small, so people are on their phone and the entire page is shrunk down, and you gotta kind of pinch and zoom in to read it.
And typically that's not the audience at like a Webtoons or a Tapas. They're looking for...
They're not used to that.
They're not used to the format and pinching and pulling to see the content. It really is a format for the vertical style.
And I did try doing a couple that I did. I did No Sleep for Violet Grey, and I did another attempt at Emo Boy that I was doing specifically for Webtoon, thinking, okay, if I do it in their style, doing the vertical things, the clever spacing and all that, maybe I would have an easier time. But it was still difficult for me. I had to like really adjust the way I think about comics in order to do it. And I always think I want it in print at some point. Like almost any comic I do, eventually I want to have it printed somewhere. And to have these long vertical things, which Webtoons does have a publishing arm. They do publish Lore Olympus, you probably see at your Barnes & Noble or wherever. They got 5 volumes now. They have to be very creative in the way they take these long things and put them into panels. Like, you almost have to do it twice. Like, you have to rethink everything you're doing, whether it's in print or how's it going to look on Webtoons. So it's its own little factory.
Yeah, I mean, like, you also have to rethink timing and all these other little elements, like especially if something was so drawn out in, say, one big panel. You have to figure out how does that work on the actual page if that is your end goal as a creator. I don't know how that works.
And typically they could be long. Like a typical weekly Webtoon update is probably like equivalent to 5 or 6 pages of comics or something. They can be quite long.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work doing Webtoons. Hence, I'm not on there right now.
But I mean, like, it does change your way of thinking and how you approach storytelling for sure. Versus a traditional style comic, which has its own limitations and its own language in itself. Like, you want that last panel on the page to be the reason why somebody flips to the next page. There's something inciting you to go to the next part. So now let's talk about Global Comics. Obviously, we've gone there for John Died on Monday, and now The God Machine. And we like their structure a little bit more because their books tend to be the traditional style. When I say books, I'm talking about webcomics, but we have things like, just announced the other day, Scott Pilgrim colorized edition is going to be there in all its glory. I think it's there right now. And the other books from like Oni, Archaea, Boom, Image, a bunch of bigger publishers that I'm blanking on right now because I'm well researched. But the reason why I like them a lot is because they do cater towards more traditional style comic pages, and
we do eventually want to have our things in print.
Yes.
So anything we're doing and putting on there, we're also going to be printing. And we don't have to worry about the vertical format and the ease of writing because they have guided view, which you've been experimenting with.
I have been experimenting with. I'm not exactly 100% sure that I'm doing the right thing. Please comment down below if I'm screwing it up. But the whole idea behind guided view is that it goes from panel to panel to panel every time you either swipe or touch the screen. So that allows the reader to read the comic on their digital device and still maintain the actual comic format as it was intended. Mm-hmm. You can turn off guided view and read it as the page itself, which I highly recommend for my books.
Yeah, I like reading on iPads. I have like the Marvel app. I have different apps for reading comics, and an iPad is like comic size. It's kind of perfect.
It's really perfect.
You have a nice, bright, regular comic book size thing, and you can just scroll through and just see the full size. I'm not a person that reads on my phone, but it sounds like more and more people do, especially young people.
And there's also options to download the comics. Sometimes people do free downloads, or you can buy a bulk download of a chapter or the entire book. So you can go on your device and read it offline, and especially if you're on the subway, a train, car ride, you got it, They
also have the So super fan. This is something that Webtoon does, and a lot of their creators make their coin through early access. And Global Comics has like a super fan thing. So basically, let's say I'm doing a weekly comic and I update it every Friday. The super fan can read it Monday. They can read it like 5 days early if they pay a certain amount.
Right.
So it's a way that creators can make a little, like, you know, pocket change, or I guess if you're really popular, you can make more than pocket change.
Right. And there's little things like your readership can donate to you to your monthly goal, and they can also become super fans that way. There's also integration of your, say, your Kickstarter or something like that.
Or
like,
Patreon. Does it connect to Patreon?
No, not yet.
Webtoons, I think, is like,
I think
they connect right away to your
Yeah.
Patreon, so people can tip you or do whatever. Chan is on Patreon if
I
you're
am.
so inclined
Spooky Chan, please.
She works hard on this every month.
Please.
I
join.
edit videos and put things together for her, so you know, just throwing it out there.
Please. I mean, I don't throw it out there enough. I'm trying. But there's other integrations into the Global Comics app, and even like if you buy into their subscription plan, you get a better cut of what you make. And also you can have a storefront and other things like that. Or you can integrate your store with it, like your physical product and whatnot. So it's a very cool new up and coming app. I mean, it's pretty much like Comixology existed.
Oh, one of the cool things too is, so everybody that subscribes to your comic, every time, let's say I post on Mondays, I post a John Died on a Monday, it sends an email out to anybody that's subscribed. So I get like emails on my own thing whenever either of us post something, and it'll give you a little description of what the comic is, which you write yourself. And so it's another way to alert people, like the second that you've posted something.
Really easy. As long as they're subscribed, they get that immediately. I'm sure you can opt out. This day and age, you have to have an opt out, or.
But we talk about ways to reach people and to let them know that you exist, that you're updating, that you're making comics, and this is something where literally you post something and it reaches out to everybody that's shown interest and said, hey, there's a new comic, come check it out, which is pretty awesome. That's something we did not have back in the day.
No, and that's pretty important, especially when we have all these websites that, you know, we talked about it before. The algorithm can dismiss what you're trying to do when you advertise your comics.
Yeah.
Like, say you're on Twix. I'm just going to call it Twix. Sorry, candy bar.
Silly rabbit.
Or cereal. Trix. That's Trix, and then there's Twix.
Oh, Twix bars.
Yeah.
Those are good. I like the peanut butter Twix. Were my favorite.
Oh, I love the caramel. Anyways, so when you're on Twix, Twitter plus X, when you're on X, if you post, and this is also on Facebook, if you post your link to your website as your first thing, like your first, like, come see me at blah blah blah, and you put your website in there, it will hide that.
Because it doesn't want anybody leaving the website.
No, it wants you to have a condensed conversation at the place that you're at, whether you're on X or Facebook. And that's why you see some people like go down below or see the thread, because, you know, these are workarounds, and I'm almost convinced that the workarounds don't work anymore.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder, and they're always adjusting it. It gets very hard. I'm pretty sure that if I post something on Twix, nobody sees it.
Yeah.
Unless somebody interacts with me frequently, they're going to see it because they've engaged in some way. Like, if I have 600 followers, I'm pretty sure 3 people see anything I post.
I mean, like, that's about right, because the thing is you have to have more followers for at least a fraction of them to see you, which is really frustrating, because when you're a comics creator and you're on, these websites trying to promote and trying to like do a bunch of different things. Like, it's literally hard to get out there as, a team. Like a small team that's not devoted to this.
But if you do see something that we post and you interact with it, if you like it, if you comment something, this is even just on social media,
Anything.
It opens it up because it goes, okay, they posted something, people are engaging, let's open, more people engaged, let's open it up. There's a lot of hurdles that you got to jump through.
Yeah, I said this last time, it's about like commenting, liking, subscribing. It really does like affect how you get out there to people. And yes, I am telling you to like this right now. But I was talking about Comixology, which was the predecessor to Global Comics in a lot of ways. It was
good once upon a time.
It was good once upon a time. And then Amazon bought it, and that was interesting. And then they integrated it into Amazon. And then they dismantled it. They dismantled that whole entire lovely format and the app, and they incorporated that back into the Kindle. So that eliminated a huge community that relied on Comixology for selling comics.
I used to pay for Comixology. I do not anymore. So.
Yeah, same. I was like, I used to love buying comics and reading them on my iPad, but those days are gone because I don't feel comfortable. But I feel like Global Comics is kind of filling that hole where Comixology used to be. I feel like there's a lot there, and there was Guided View on Comixology as well.
Right.
And I feel like it's a new opportunity and a new place, and a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of bigger publishers, indie publishers coming to this format.
Okay, so we were talking about social media, which is a lot of people just post their comics on social media.
Like Instagram.
You got your Twix, you got your Instagram, you got TikTok. You have people like Sarah Anderson, who did
Sarah Scribbles.
Sarah Scribbles, I think it's called, which is massive. Like, she also has things on other hubs
platforms
and stuff.
I think she's on Tapas as well.
Yeah. There are definitely, like, if you're on Facebook or Twix or any of these sites, there are probably things, even if you don't follow them, or you probably see them.
Yeah.
Especially, like, relatable comics are huge on social media. These are, like, stuff about our cat is right in front of us. I wish you could see this. These are
so cute.
Comics about cats, comics about just love and relationships and life, and just almost your newspaper syndication stuff, like the really just things that you see that and you go, oh my god, I love my cat too. This is so cats. This is what cats do. It's
comical. It's relatable. It's something that you can pass along to somebody.
Yeah, they're almost designed for social media. They're meant to say, there's 1 million people on this website. This is something almost all of you can relate to. Share this, put this on your timeline. They get passed around everywhere. Like, frankly, it's a good model.
it's a fantastic model, and usually they're pretty simplistic.
If only my brain wasn't so niche.
And when I say simplistic, I'm not exactly talking about the content itself, but the actual line art can be very, like, accessible.
It's very like Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics. He talks about iconography and like going from just the smiley face to a simple cartoon to a highly rendered drawing, and the more detailed it gets, the less relatable, the smiley face, anybody anywhere understands that. Something that's highly detailed and specific, somebody's going to be a big fan of it. But these kind of, it's almost by design, like very simple is something that more and more and more people are going to relate to.
Absolutely. And here's a counter to what you just said. I know, right? So relatable comics simplified is really great. Now, if you're doing illustration, people tend to love details, like super details. But then again, there's always people who love relatable things, like the chibi characters and it's a whole gambit about what you want to do, but the relatable comic is definitely a viral type of thing that gets into your face and won't let go.
Sounds scary.
It does.
We should do it.
Yeah, we should.
All right, anyways, I hope you enjoyed our look at modern webcomics and our look at historical comics of yesteryear.
Oh, jeez.
Webcomics everywhere.
Yeah, make us sound old.
We were around yesteryear.
Yeah, we were. We were ancient on the internet. But please let us know what you're reading right now, and if you're an aspiring webcomic artist, creator, or whatever you're doing, let us know what's going on.
Right, let us know about the latest thing that we have totally neglected, because I'm sure it exists.
It definitely exists. We're old?
We're trying.
Oh, yeah, we're trying.
All right, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Stay spooky.